Hello, trading has closed on the 22nd of September, 2023. As always, we'll do our disclaimer, go over our calls, make some predictions. It's my trading plan for Monday, which is September 25th. Remember, my call is completely wrong. Trade at your own risk. Still have a lot of personal business. I'm going to probably have it through most of next week. I just don't have as much time as I normally have to analyze things, and if you plan to risk money on my calls, please bear that in mind. Look for the pattern with the early high, which is this, and Monday should also have the early high. We had some targets. We said ultimately 43.72.58 should print. There's no time limit on that, so that's still alive. The rules say if we didn't gap down smartly, we should see 43.56.51. We did hit the number right on the head, and we found resistance over it, but I'm not going to take credit for that one because I said I just can't rely on these things during periods of strong impulsive moves, and I can't in 1 minute say I can't rely on it, and the next minute claim credit for it when the system works. We just call this an opportunity missed. I did say the next lower target was 43.17.52. That's the red line. The green line's a prior FOMC announcement price. I will take credit for that one because the number printed pretty much right on the head, and that's a target from June. That's not one of the most amazing things you've ever seen. I don't know what is. And this is just what we said. These are the patterns I look for next week. During the day, MEJT said ultimately higher prices would print. They did. We got a sell signal in the afternoon. We certainly traded lower. Nothing requires us to stop at the minimum target, but that printed immediately. So even though we got the sell, if all you had was the system, you didn't have enough to make an entry. If you were convinced the drop wasn't over, though, I think the system would say that any drop would stick if it happened. Well, here's the DeMark count. The green numbers are his combo indicator. When we hit bar 13, that gives a buy under his system. We printed a 9 and a 13 bar of his sequential. We have another 6 bars of setup. If you get 3 more uninterrupted that meet his criteria, he'll have what he calls a 9-13-9 sequential buy signal, which if it occurs close enough to the combo buy signal, I mean the two signals were in alignment, and according to his work, when multiple signals are in alignment, it gives a very powerful buy signal. Now these things don't always work, and if they fail big. But we're still in a bull market. Here's your rising 200-day moving average, which is support. It's tempting to speculate what would happen if we continue dropping next week, came close to this, and got the DeMark buy signals way under the 200-day moving, way under the Bollinger Band. The Bollinger Band. If there's ever a time when it would pay to try to catch the falling knife, that would be the time, if that happens. Well, here's the weekly chart. You take this drop here, we're right at a Fibonacci support level. Today's close is also support from a number of other systems, not just the prior target in the prior FOMC announcement price, but also some proprietary systems of a friend of mine. Gives us that support. I don't think it'll hold, but even though we drop in a straight line going into the low on Friday, and then usually follows through, this could bounce. I'm not saying it will, but you have good support, drop right to it but not through it, and this is close to being what I would call a wall into the close, which tends to be panic selling as opposed to the real thing. If we had kept on dropping and then recovered in the last 5 minutes, I would say it was a wall. Last 5 minutes don't always mean anything. So even though I think the decline's not over, I can't rule out gapping up Monday. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm not saying it won't. Certainly it's possible. Well, here's your 50-day moving average. Here's your 200. A lot of times the market likes to play Fibonacci ping pong or ping pong between these moving averages. And if we kept dropping right under 4,200, you'd have your moving average. And it would also be Fibonacci target of the prior consolidation. It would also be support from the consolidation before then. So it doesn't mean it has to work, but if we drop there pretty much in a straight line, particularly if there's huge volume on the drop, that's the kind of place where if you're going to catch the falling knife, it's a reasonable time and a reasonable place to do it. Could we keep dropping after that? Sure. But we have two higher ultimate targets. This is the track record of the system from the beginning of 2002 to the end of 2022. We get about 150 ultimate targets a year. So that's over 3,000 targets. I have 8 of them which never printed. Only once have I gotten 2 of them the same year which never printed. So the odds are if you wait long enough, we're going to see those numbers. Now I still have 6 lower targets from this year. If we go under 4,200, 2 of these targets would print. And 4 failed targets in a year, while not thrilling, certainly does have some precedent in the past. That's happened a few times, not a lot, but at least there's precedent for it. 6 in a year, that happened only, here's a 9 and a 9 and a 7. So once every 7 years. Doesn't make it impossible, but the odds are, if we knock a few of these off, we're going to retrace back up and hit these higher targets. At least that's my thought. Well, Monday's pattern should have the early high regardless of where we open. Typically today is a bullish day with a final hour high, but if you fail, it's a straight line drop. A late drop on Friday nearly always follows through with Monday's open, and in short-term bullish if we gap up instead. There's strong support from multiple systems as well as a VIX Bollinger Band reversal buy signal, so gapping up can't be ruled out. I don't have a wave count which says the decline's over, even if we do rally. However, in terms of time, not price, but time, we may be close. We're trading under the lower Bollinger Band and prices don't stay there long. Many mutual funds close out their fiscal year on September 30th and don't want to be seen holding a lot of losing stocks. Their incentive to sell and keep their bad trades hidden from shareholders goes away after next week. Continuing to drop would likely trigger a DeMark combo buy signal in alignment with a 913.9 sequential buy signal. If that signal fails, it should fail big, but when the signals are in alignment, particularly at a low in a bull market, they're likely to succeed. We have support from the 200-day moving average, a prior consolidation's high, and Fibonacci targets just under 4,200 cash. So, it's a pattern with the early high. Usually it's a rally day. A decent chance, I think, we gap up. That doesn't mean we're going to close higher. Decent chance of gapping up. But there's also a very decent chance, that's an if, the decline continues, gapping up or not, if the decline continues, we could see a major low as early as next week with one target, not the only target, under 4,200 cash. And if we drop under 4,200 cash next week with some big down days, particularly if there's big volume, I think if you want to try to call the bottom, you have the odds in your favor. It's a pattern with the early high Monday, and that's today's call.